Well, good morning again from Jamaica Beach, Texas on the west end of sunny Galveston Island. Today's Wednesday, January the 4th, and this is part 2 of my update on how our plants survived the recent hard freeze. We were out of town for about 2 weeks, and upon return, a lot of the outdoor plants were kind of wiped out. You may have watched that video. If not, I'll be posting that today as well. I was able to move a lot of plants into the garage. And as you can see, I've got a rack of grow lights over there, and I also put a couple of sheets of floating row cover over all of my potted plants. And so let's go take a look and see how they did. So now that everything has been uncovered, let's take a closer look. Now, if you saw the first video, or part 1, you may remember that the aloe vera up on the deck looked really bad. I'm sure it'll come back, but just getting them inside the garage, out of the wind, with just a little bit of supplemental light and covered up, you can see these aloe veras did just fine. So still have plenty of aloe vera. I can't think of the name of this plant. It's a very common tropical. You'll all recognize it. It did just fine in the garage. I've got a plumeria plant here, right there, with the light shining directly on it from the sunrise, looking okay. I've got lemongrass that did just fine. A bunch of the Mexican oleander. These are the ones I'm really concerned about because I started all these from seed and I didn't want to lose them in the event that the big one outdoors died, because it's a rare plant. But these guys look great. The ones closest to the light, obviously, seem to do better, and I guess they were a little more covered up as well, because as I pan over this way, you can see this very same plant looks really bad. But I have a lot, so if those don't survive, it's okay. Citronella plants did not like the cold weather. They were covered up. They had access to light. I imagine they will come back, but they don't look that great right now. Passion vine, I've got one here that was farther away from the light, and you can see, it's this one right here. You can see this guy doesn't look good. Now, they also are probably suffering a little bit from lack of water. I had to turn the water off so I wouldn't have any frozen pipes, so there was no way to have even a neighbor water the plants. I just assumed 2 weeks when it wasn't too hot would be okay. That's an iris plant of some sort that's doing okay, but all of the lemongrass survived just fine. Once I get all these plants watered in, I think they'll bounce back just fine. This plumeria, it was already dormant, so they didn't have any leaves in the first place. It'll be just fine. You bring those in when it gets cold down here anyway. Split leaf duodendrum, I believe is the name of this plant. I really wanted to keep it alive because it survived the 20-degree freeze from a couple of years ago. It froze back to the ground, but I dug it up and replanted it, and here we go. It's looking really good. And I had to move this Two Sisters plant in. The wind would have destroyed it as well as the cold. So moved it inside, looking really good. I've got some various herbs and other plants down here. Let's see, I've got some really pretty thyme, so I can update my thyme. I've got a nice dill plant, so I have at least one super healthy dill, and some various other plants. And I've got more of my more of the Victoria blue salvia that did just fine. But gosh, and some of these, wow. I'm not exactly sure what happened to these. These are those Christmas plants. I forget what they're called off the top of my head. Calanchos. And while some of them over there, you may see next to the rack, did just fine, these guys did not at all. I don't know if the freeze or the fact that they weren't covered up. Maybe they were getting too much light. Who knows? But that's kind of crazy looking. Anyway, those are done for. But all in all, moving the potted plants into the garage and giving them some supplemental light and covering them up means we've got a lot of stuff we can put in the ground as soon as we need to. Anyway, that's an update from the garage. So it's not all bad news from Jamaica Beach on the plant front. Have a fantastic new year. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos, and we'll talk again soon.